Hello, guys. Today, I would like to talk about a problem that is a little bit controversial in Yu-Gi-Oh, but in my opinion, takes away a lot of what I personally enjoy about the game. But maybe also other people's may agree with this opinion. And that is the essence of going second in this current meta. Because going second has changed in the course of the last 2.5 years a lot, and I would like to talk about it. But for this, I would first show a replay where I play as a player of Drytron against the Zodiac Tri-Brigade deck, and this should show a little bit of degeneracy, so beware your eyes. And this should also show my point. So, I you see my hand standard. This would have been full combo for Drytron. Yeah, of course it's full. It's a strong combo. But my opponent opened this. So I get drawn lockbirded. I get to end my turn. I get to go neg1 if I even wanted to build a board. And now I end on IP Link Karibo, so I can have any hope of stopping anything that my opponent does. And then my opponent just throws the game by not going for Dark Roll or Ram, and then ramming into it, and then going into Zeus. And then I get to kill him. But honestly, he would have won game one. Like, this is no issue to play around. Double TT is not very hard. And yeah, then I proceed to just murder him. Because 8,000 damage game. And then, same thing again, but this time look at my hand. And he gets to go first. So, he opened Drone Lockbird and full combo. Plus a trap trick as an extender into the Tri-Brigade trap. So he has even more interruptions. Of course, he wouldn't need to draw if he would have played Bear Bloom, but Bear Bloom is not legal for the next couple days. Okay, and then I just go Mystic Mind Pass. Interactive gameplay. Wonderful. And I just like keep him under Mystic Mind Lock and just win. But keep in mind that his board is Drone Lockbird plus double Dragonlords plus Appaloosa both the Goddess. And then I just as a thought him in game. And we don't have to talk about it because he can't do anything. I have Levineer, I could pop his entire board and then Boros Sword him to death. So this wraps up this replay. If you want to, I'm gonna let this run through to the end. And then I'll get to the video that I actually wanted to discuss. So this is game because this makes Boros Sword gain 3,000 attack, and Boros Sword attack twice for 12,000 game. He could have played it better, but we're not going to talk about it. He should have actually won both games. if he would have been a good player. So let's get to the issue. Um, this is not part of it, but these 5 cards here. Since the release of the these 2 cards existed before this point here, but since the release of the Megatons, something happened to Yu-Gi-Oh that is that changed like the game to this current day, and that is Nibiru and Dark Ruler No More, and technically even Dimension Shifter, even though Dimension Shifter is the quote-unquote worst one, due to it being played in only very passive decks, due to most decks that combo requiring the graveyard. And this released in Star Strike Blast, and this in the and this in Duelist Genesis. And what do these all cards have all in common? They are tempo cards. And technically, also, this is a tempo card. And we'll keep those floodgates to the side for a little interim. So, Droll and Lockbird stops you from adding cards from your deck to your hand for the rest of this turn. So it's a -1. It does not stop. It does not negate anything. Artifact Lancia is the same thing, but for banishing. And then Nibiru, the Primal Being, tributes an entire field of monsters as soon as your opponent summoned 5 or more monsters. And then you get to special summon a token. Dark Ruler No More, just your opponent cannot respond to it and negate all effects on the field. Forbidden Droplets, your opponent cannot respond to it even more, and it's a quick play, but you have to send cards from your hands and field to the graveyard for it. And then Mystic Mine, which says your opponent cannot. So what happened before the Megatons that released Nibiru and Dark Ruler is Yu-Gi-Oh was going second in Yu-Gi-Oh was more of a resource consolidation thing. Like you had to consider which trades you would want to do to go second. Like if you throw an Ash Blossom, you want to like maximize the value of the Ash Blossom, because Ash Blossom all in all is a 1-for-1 trade. But if you can hit the right card, you can gain a lot of tempo out of an Ash Blossom. If your Ash Blossom stops an entire Dragon Link combo, you gained a tempo advantage of the card worth of the entire Dragon Link combo. Meanwhile, these cards, even though they go -1, they force this tempo thing. So like you may not get the card advantage, you just stopped your opponent. But if you stop your opponent in your tracks, you get a tempo advantage of insane proportions. As said, you usually get to stop that Dragon Link combo, while the Ash does not usually get to stop that Dragon Link combo. Same with Lancia, same with Nibiru, though Nibiru is a little bit different in that case. Dark Ruler No More, Forbidden Droplets, and Mystic Mine, unless you have a negate for Mystic Mine. They also do the same thing. They completely, though in a different way, they completely invalidate anything that has been produced by your opponent to interrupt you that is on the field. So, like, Dark Ruler No More, just negate the entire Dragon Link board of your opponent, and then you can play your own board over it. So, why are these cards an issue? They make going second a lot more doable. Yeah, that actually is the issue. Going second is mainly doable because of these cards, rather than going second just because your deck is built to go second. Like any deck that slaps these cards in has like an X percentile chance of just going second and winning just because they opened a busted card. Drone Lockbird stopped game 1, stopped the combo here, and therefore let me end on an IP Masquerade, and that was it. And my opponent drew engine plus dark ruler, so he could have like completely ignored the Masquerena and then just make Zeus for 6 materials or something, and then just murder me. He could have won the game 1, just because he opened unsearchables. And that is like a big issue, because if you want to go second, it should rather come out of your own engine, in my opinion, rather than just being like, did I draw this broken card? Because and this is also this issue goes even further, because these cards are like required so that you can beat certain really tough boards, like the Dragon Link board, or double Raigeki from Prank Kids is also tough board sometimes, or the Appaloosa plus double Dragon Lords, or the Barrier Statue plus double Dragon Lords. Really hard boards to break without these cards. But with these cards, it's becoming a joke. You should rather be like, I think these cards should be 1-for-1 trades or 1-for-2 trades rather than just tempo infinite. Like, if you play your rogue deck, like, let's take Salamangreat for instance. Salamangreat was a very dominant deck in its time, until Nibiru the Primal Being got released. And what did Nibiru the Primal Being do? Well, Salamangreat does not really have a good response into Nibiru the Primal Being, and therefore, like, you had to play very passive, very bad boards, and therefore making your deck worse, just to be able to play it. Because there was always this 33% looming chance that you could completely lose the game on spot because your opponent activated a card that he hard drew. And the same thing goes for Drytron. The only reason that Drytron is not playable in this current state is because because you have a 33% chance, or even a 55% chance if they play 3 Dark Ruler no mores, that you are not able to play. You're like, you just cannot. Or even higher chance if you play droplets. And then Dino. Dino also has the issue that you have a 33% chance of not being able to combo just because your opponent was lucky and drew the Lancea. And then stuff like Necros. Again, Droll, Dark Ruler, Forbidden Droplet. Yeah, and ends your game. You cannot play funky decks that like rely on their interactions that are monsters, or like rely on a specific mechanic to be available. If yeah, your opponent has like a 33% chance of stopping it. Also, a good reason why Orcust is not really playable, because like, apart from Orcust just being generally trash right now, Artifact Lancia has a 33% chance of just stopping you. And that is like uninteractive, because there is not much thought in just, oh, your opponent normal summoned a monster, let's throw a Lancia, or oh, my opponent searched a card while he has a monster on field so I can play around Gamma. Let's just stop him there and then just end the turn. And then I've got my full Dragon Link combo. Oh boy, I am sure a good player. I know how to draw on Lockbird and then Dragon Link combo. And now you wonder, like, even why is it so good that they are able to stop a turn? I already hinted at it, because if they stop a turn, your opponent gets to basically have a turn 1. They have a 33% chance to win the dice roll even though they lost it. So, like, if you like draw Lockbird, the Drytron deck, and then you get to play your Dragon Link deck, it's like as if you started. You are starting with 5 cards in hand, but the only difference is you're getting a battle phase, and you are also getting and also your opponent already committed resources. And because they not completely committed resources, it is probably in a negative, or in a one-for-one fashion that they committed resources to the board. And resources on the board are very vulnerable to removal. So you basically get the free removal of a battle phase. You get the ability to remove cards from field by any destruction effect that you please, like Legionnaire. And you get to still full combo, unless your opponent also drew one of these cards, which then turns the game state into an absolute clown's fiesta. So, uh, and and these cards are so oppressive that people have to play other broken cards just to counter them. And like this basically turns into a weaponizing thing. Like you have to look for the most absurdly broken uninteractive stuff just to be able to deal with these cards rather than just saying, okay, my Savage Seals is enough, or my weird Drytron board is enough. I don't have to like do weird stuff. Or, but also at the same time, it's not okay that these combo decks have these good boards. You know, if you remove Dark Ruler No More, Lancea Droll, and Nibiru from the equation, I can tell you that Dragon Link may even be a tier 0 deck, just because Dragon Link just gets to combo for every time, because they can play about around every traditional hand trap, like the Ghost Girls, like these cards. So why? But you don't want them to just like play around these one-for-one trades because their deck is better. So this is again something that gatekeeps. But these cards gatekeep harder than these cards, in my opinion. Like, especially because you can address decks that are very hard to kill on the ban list by excessively hitting them. Meanwhile, like these cards like cover every deck and basically encourage Konami also to not only like minorly hit decks, but also like it encourages this bad game state thing, and it encourages over designing cards. Like for example, if you've seen the recent trap cards that were released, Schism and Tri-Brigade Revolt, these are really over designed trap cards. And yeah, some people even argue that Schism should be banned, just because it summons an uninteractive floodgate from the extra deck for the cost of banishing monsters from the graveyard that you put there just to search those. Um, so all in all, like these card these cards are unhealthy and like encourage other unhealthy play here. Even though Tri-Brigade Revolt is a really cool card, gotta give them that card design. Um, I think you should rather be able to just main these cards, which are generally good one-for-ones, because they can have this timing thing, but they also encourage more skillful play. It is more skillful to throw an Ash at the right target in Dragon Link to stop them, rather than just throwing Drone Lockbird on Striker Dragon Search Boot Sector Launch, or on Terraforming Search Meltdown. Like throwing Ash on Alistair can be sometimes a really good play, but sometimes it's even better to throw Ash on. It's like a big discussion on where do you throw Ash on an Alistair or like on a Meltdown. If your opponent activates Terraforming, do you throw Ash on the Terraforming, on the Meltdown, or the Alistair? It's a really, really in-depth discussion, and you have to like think what makes most sense. And it probably makes most sense to throw an Ash at the Alistair, because the chance that he has an invocation is smaller than that he has an Alistair. Though actually it is like the same. Yeah, it is, because your opponent will probably be running two invocations and 3 Alistair, because so If he searches one, that means if he tries to search one, that means he has at least one Alistair in deck. At least, yeah, at least one Alistair in deck. Meanwhile, like with Invocation, if he tries to search it, he has probably like between 1 and 2 Invocations in deck. And with Alistair, you could have between 1 and 3 Alistairs in deck. So it is like statistically less probable that he has an Invocation in hand than that he has an Alistair in hand. So you gotta like, but also like reading your opponent may be even a good idea. Like if they see like there was some Alistair motionless, maybe they even have the Invocation and they're just like waiting to laugh in your face. Then, but you still have to throw Ash then. But like just throwing a drone Lockbird at that, and then just your full Dragonlink combo afterwards, or your full Drytron combo, or your full Orcus combo, or. That is absolutely uninteractive. You had zero thought to be put in that. You threw Droll on that terraforming. And there is, yeah, the only way that you can punish it is by either gammaing that or by opening the one of Called by the Grave that should not be legal. And now about these cards, we talked about these Floodgaters. Dark Ruler no more. If your opponent committed a full board and you just Dark Ruler it and he can't really do anything after you Dark Ruler him, his board then, this card becomes excessively strong because then you get to full Dragon Link combo or full Orcus combo or full whatever combo into an opponent's board, meanwhile removing this card advantage because you get a battle phase. And then putting your own negation board on top of it, your opponent has diminished resources because you got to start a turn with 5 cards in hand because the 6th card was Dark Ruler. And full combo into your board after you're committed 2 or 3 cards in hand just to have that board. And it is honestly pretty degenerate. Just that chance can say that you win the game. And like not in a skillful way, but where you have to put exact thought in when do you activate Dark Ruler no more. Like with Dark Ruler no more, you just throw it at your opponent. With Droplets, you just activate a spell card and then throw it at your opponent. Even though Droplets, in my opinion, is a way better designed card than Dark Ruler no more because you have to spend resources to the amount of tempo you want to gain. So that is fair, but you also get like the damage. Mystic Mine is a bit similar in that vein because it just like has no counterplay unless your opponent has a specific counter to the activation of a Mystic Mine. Which sounds again a bit stupid. But like if your opponent has like a board of, let's say, Dryden plus Appaloosa, or the double Dragon Lords plus Appaloosa as seen in game 2, and maybe even a hand trap or 2, you can just throw Mystic Mind out and then do everything and just win the duel like I did. So this is also degenerate. But this at least has way more responses than these 5 cards have. Like Nibiru, you cannot Call it by the Grave. You cannot Gamma it because you already have monsters on field. You can only hope to have enough resources or a specific negate before 5 summons because your deck has that specific quirk. Draw on Lockbird, your counter is Gamma and Called by the Grave. And if they have a second draw on Lockbird because this thing is not once per turn for no reason whatsoever, they just get to play around it anyways. Lancia, same thing. And all in all, I think these cards are pretty problematic for the game state because it discourages decks like this, even though this is absolutely degenerate, as you see. This is a list I played in before the Megatons released that brought us Nibiru at Co. Because Mermaid was still legal, as you see. It was a little bit after like it was, I think, a bit before IP released. This deck just like tries to force good 1 for X trades by like special summon Vishuda. If they negate it, then I kept a card in hand. If they negate it with Appaloosa, I kept a card in hand. If they didn't negate it with Appaloosa, I get to force Appaloosa for free. Or like using Destrudo into Yazi Marimar. If this resolves, I get a +4. Using Phantasme as a free +1. Like these kind of decks just are like out competed by just taking your good going first deck and smacking 6 to 9 going second cards into it. Like I don't have an example here because I only played trash decks. But in general, like like you do just like if I just play this deck and you full comboed and then I just open Dark Ruler no more, or like against back row decks, Twin Twisters, it's like pretty, yeah. What are you going to do? I just was the better player, quote unquote. And I think so. I think the solution for this problem is giving it at least the max C treatment for now, which means putting Drone Lockbird, Artifact Lancia, and Nibiru, as well as Dark Ruler no more, to 1. Maybe keeping Forbidden Droplet at 3. But also, in addition to that, because otherwise combo decks would be too good, you would have to excessively hit cards like Abyss Dweller, like cards that aren't even considered good anymore. You would have to hit like Winda, Abyss Dweller, Megabut to 1, Seal's gone, Dragon Link combo gone, and maybe even like hit decks that you have not even thought of, like maybe putting Meow Meow Mew to 1. So like excessively hitting everything that is good to discourage people from playing these super busted decks in an environment where these cards do not work, are not legal. That's 3, and like not consistent. But this, at the same time, if you would do this, this would encourage like just random decks that have a real big vulnerability to this card, and basically their entire existence being nullified by people deciding that Drone Lockbird is a good card in the main deck. This would just solve a little bit of a diversity problem when it comes to decks. It would make maybe ritual decks a little bit playable. I'm not gonna say I'm not biased here because I hate Drone Lockbird, but generally these cards are very hurtful for the game because they do not do much more than stop you from playing rather than hinder you from playing. Anyways, I've probably ranted enough. I hope Konami may address this problem in the future by, first of all, not printing that strong decks. Second of all, not printing that strong staples. And keeping going second cards to favorable trades rather than just temple, blowout, and nullification cards. So, I'm also going to show a Christia combo soon that I've been working on as soon as I got a working deck for it, if anybody's interested. See ya.